Hello everyone, welcome to this video. I could talk about Tommy Robinson in extreme detail, and this video could last for hours. I also am very careful about what I say because it can impact on your life. So I want to say to everyone who is thinking about making videos slating other religions and saying what happened to these people that done these bad things, should be castrated and killed, and maybe the death penalty should come back, which might be a good thing to bring back the death penalty just as a deterrent. Just be mindful, guys, that it can come around and bite you in the bum. You know, it might have an effect on your career if people knew your thoughts. You see, the left don't like people who are on the right to voice their opinion. So be careful about what you say. So I'm just briefly going to talk about Tommy Robinson. I want to say we should lend our support to him. It was a gross miscarriage of justice that happened. He was 9 coppers picked him up, threw him in the back of a van. He was taken to court. And then he was charged with contempt of court, and then he was sent to prison for 13 months just for, you know, filming outside, doing a blog more or less, and talking about the events that was going off in court. I don't want to talk about the case, and obviously we all know child rape is horrible, it shouldn't happen, and anyone who justifies it is unbelievable, in my opinion. In the modern world we live in, any such crime should have a hefty sentence. I believe if this happened in America, you'd probably be looking at the death penalty. But instead, we are happy to take a journalist, send him to prison. Potentially he could die in prison because there are many ex-terrorists in prison that frankly want to kill him. Because they're on such a long sentence, it doesn't matter, you know, 20 years onto their sentence ain't going to make much of a difference because they're in there for a long time. So, you know, we need to be mindful about freedom of speech. It's something we need to protect at all costs. In America they have the First Amendment. We don't have such a law, unfortunately, but you know, we did have the Magna Carta that was drafted, and that should be sufficient to protect freedom of speech. But unfortunately it does seem the elite globalists, the government, want to protect certain individuals while the everyday person can't say what they feel. And I think everyone's starting to feel this, that you can't have an opinion anymore. Because if you have an opinion, you're going to be labelled as an Islamophobe, a racist, a bigot. You know, people may even say that about myself. But I would say back to them, would a racist date other cultures, have relationships with African or Asian women? Doubtful, is it? Very doubtful. So I just want to say that I am not a racist. So there's been demonstrations across the world. Other alternative media sources have been talking about this, such as Rebel Media and Infowars by Alex Jones, and Ezra Levant has done quite a few videos with Rebel Media talking about how he feels what happened to Tommy was probably illegal, more than likely. So this contempt of court charge that's been laid before Tommy, I feel it should be rescinded. I think there will be an appeal. I think if the government was looking at this case in more detail, thinking, we've done something we shouldn't have done, let's pull Tommy out of prison, let's have a proper trial, put him on bail, and we just discuss the reasons why he got that sentence because of all the support he's got. Surely it's a special case enough for the government to think about doing that. And if any MPs are watching this, please, do the right thing. Get Tommy out of prison. Have a proper court proceeding that's open to the public, that seems fair, with reason and justice for all. That's what everyone wants, because at the moment it seems like it was a kangaroo court. Tommy didn't have access to his lawyer. He probably wasn't in the right frame of mind. The court appointed a lawyer to him, which he probably only had a couple of hours with Tommy anyway, and he probably didn't even watch the entire live feed. Probably didn't have time to, since it was about 70 minutes long. I also want to say something about the judge, which I feel he was totally and completely incompetent. As a judge, it's your job to weigh up the negatives and the positives of every case, and review all information, all evidence. The fact that you only watched 10 minutes of his live feed and that was enough for you to sentence him is unbelievable. As a professional, as someone who's holding a job of authority, obviously you have a lot of respect with that. I suspect you won't have a lot of respect anymore, obviously. You was a witness to Tommy doing the live feed, so you should have disqualified yourself as the judge and got another person who was impartial, who didn't have a biased opinion, to make the decision. So I think the judge should have done the right thing and done that. I've watched a lot of people commenting on what happened, and Ezra Levant from Rebel Media has a lot of videos. I encourage you to watch them, because he does go into other cases that happened in the past where Tommy have a similar sort of, such as other cases in the past, and other people who are not have the social media coverage such as Tommy has, have got much lesser sentences. In some cases, people have been even let go with a warning. Obviously, I can appreciate Tommy's done this a second time. Now, some people have slated him. One person I respect a lot for what he's done for Brexit. So, Nigel Farage made a comment on LBC Radio. In the UK, it's a talk show, if you don't know, on the radio. He's got a regular show, and I have a lot of respect for Nigel Farage for what he's done for Brexit, what he's done in the EU Parliament, and all those, ranting discussions he's had on YouTube that have been posted up in the EU Parliament. That's what more or less made him quite famous. I'm going to say I'm really disappointed in you, Nigel, and if you're watching this video, I just want to say I'm really disappointed in what you said on your LBC channel. I think it was the 31st of May that you actually said this. So at the end of this, obviously I'm going to put up what he said and you can make your mind up.
To that. Tommy Robinson, it's a name you will all have heard of, former leader of the English Defence League, and, a very high-profile and controversial figure. And now I'm allowed to say it, because I've not been for a few days, which is ridiculous, and let me explain why. Tommy Robinson has been jailed for 13 months for contempt of court. And to many people, this is absolute proof that we're moving into a police state, that something truly awful is happening. Well, you've got half a point, folks, but only half a one. Let's be clear. Tommy Robinson was under a court order not to interfere with the judicial process in any way at all. He chose, for reasons of self-publicity, and not to benefit anything that would help society, he chose willfully to breach that. He was warned that he was in breach of that decided to continue. Frankly, the judge had almost no choice but to give him a jail sentence. So I think Robinson, frankly, was out there asking for trouble, and I don't think it was a very bright thing to do. Now, against that, let me just say that there does appear to be a very strong desire and willingness amongst much of the police and our judiciary to clamp down on people who make certain criticisms in society. And we are not dealing here with a level playing field. The whole point about religious freedom and tolerance is we should all be able to criticise and even mock each other. And I do worry that we're moving into a position where you can criticise some groups in society but not criticise others. And I think for those of you who see Robinson as a hero, well, OK, maybe he does stand up for his point of view. But believe you me, his imprisonment in this case is not heroic in any way at all. And that, of course, will surprise some of you. But let me just say this finally. The fact we weren't allowed to talk about this for several days because of reporting restrictions is just a nonsense, because the internet has been awash with it. And the reason is the legislation covering reporting restrictions came in 1982 when, well, hardly anybody even had a computer back in 1982, let alone the internet. And we're in this ridiculous world where newspapers, television stations, radio stations are told, under reporting restrictions, they can't discuss some things, but out there on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, or whatever it is, there's a big open discussion going on. It's a nonsense, and I do feel that what I've just said about Robinson, I'd much rather have said at the end of last week than having to wait legally until today. Something fundamental needs to change with our reporting laws. The internet has changed the game. So maybe, just maybe, Parliament should wake up to that as well as the issue we're discussing tonight.
So, you've had a chance to watch that segment, haven't you? Well, I think it's a bit short and sweet, first of all. I think he didn't want to address the subject, first of all. I agree regarding the ban on reporting what happened to Tommy. But it does seem to me that Nigel hasn't looked into what happened to Tommy, why he was sent down, how quickly he was sent down. He wasn't given access to his own lawyer. He didn't address any of those things. And I think he doesn't really want to talk about what happened to Tommy. But the reason he has is because there's been so much attention to him through YouTube and Facebook and what have you. So I'm going to have to say, Nigel, I'm really disappointed in what you've said, because you don't have a clue what happened. You know, in a democratic society, when you go to court, you have time to talk to your lawyer and come up with a defence. So why is it we're giving the alleged rapists the rights to have bail, have time with their lawyer to come up with a defence, and yet Tommy Robinson, who hasn't raped anyone, right, gets sent down to prison within the space of 5 hours? Where is the fairness, the justice for these children? Come on. We need to have justice. So the Leeds court is probably less than 10 miles from where I live. So I'm a local guy. So I understand the goings on and what's been going on. So as a last note, I want us all to support Tommy. Please give as much support you can. And if any MPs are watching this, please stand up and be counted in the Commons, in the Houses of Parliament, and say that what happened to Tommy was unjust, and hopefully we can get justice for Tommy as well. So as a last note, everyone keep demonstrating, let's keep this going. Hopefully at some point some MPs in the Houses of Parliament will decide to stick up for Tommy and say, listen, what happened was wrong, politically motivated, and it shouldn't have happened, and people should have the freedom of speech. And maybe at some point we'll get rid of all these hate laws and we'll come up with a freedom of speech charter, a law that protects your right to have the freedom to say what you wish to, as long as it doesn't incite hate. We need to have debate, discussion about these matters, not have them hidden and subverted by the police, or the political will to use the police to silence people. Because if you go down that road, you become a dictator, and this country very quickly becomes the Soviet Union. So, you know, anyone listening, please go and support Tommy on the 9th of June. So everyone, please support Tommy on the 9th of June outside the Houses of Parliament. Support him, help him, and let's hope that something can happen because of all the support. And have a nice day.